Good evening. Welcome to the Assumption Parish School Board meeting. We'll begin with roll call by the superintendent. Yours truly will do the board prayer, and Mr. Meyer will lead us into the pledge.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Meyer, Mrs. Barra, Ms. Fletcher-Mickens, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Washington, Ms. Hood, Mrs. Arso, Ms. Dugas. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. The agenda will be followed as presented. Well, precious Lord, we thank you once again for this assembly to ask for your continued blessing on this district and all our school employees. Please give us the insight to lead with integrity, that the decisions we make may reflect what is the best interest of the students in our system. In making these decisions, we ask that you keep us from pettiness and short-sightedness, and that decisions we make are for the good of all without self-interest. Dear Lord, grant us the humility to always seek your guidance, and when we try to fulfill our duties, to support our students, the faculty, our staff, as well as the community of Assumption Parish Schools. These and many blessings we respectfully ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before we begin, guys, I have to ask my colleagues up here to the left and the right of me. I've been inundated with calls the last couple of months about when we live stream and not able to hear the board members up here. So please, guys, let's make sure your mic is on and the volume is up when you get ready to speak. I'm getting tired getting told my butt up in the public. Thank you all. Thank you again. Motion to adopt the agenda. Got a motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Ms. Barra. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Y'all could hear me back there. What about live stream folks? Thank you. Yeah. Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Uso, second by Ms. Dock. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next, under reports and recognition, receive the administrative personnel report. Each of us have a copy of that file in our book right here. View it at your leisure. Paragraph B, receive the school building level support report from Curriculum and Instruction Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to communicate to the board and our families almost like a year at a glance from the Curriculum and Instruction Department. I know Ms. Brittany, and I really thank her. She prepared this document along with Ms. Rachel and Ms. Margaret. But I want to bring the board, hey, this is all the things that we've done this past year to support curriculum and instruction in our schools. And I want to start our strategic plan. We use our deliverables from our strategic plan to make sure that we implement the right strategies and programs in our schools. This past year, we focused on 4 main areas, deliverables we call them, in curriculum and instruction. Number 1, assess effectiveness of principals, facilitation of instructional leadership teams, and development of principals to proficiency in their facilitation. 1.1, 1.2, expand and/or significantly strengthen curriculum-based training with a focus on systems, lesson plan preparation, and internalization for teachers and leaders. We use our instructional leadership teams for that. 1.3, continue to develop and/or significantly strengthen school leaders' capacity to lead high-impact informed observation, feedback, and coaching grounded in adopted curriculum and aligned with NIET/SCLAS rubrics, which is our rubrics that we use to evaluate our teachers. And the last is 5.1, develop principals' ability to newly adopt a rubric using the teacher evaluation. This year, one of our vendors, School Leadership Center. We partner with School Leadership Center. Coaches from School Leadership Center work with all of our schools, all 9 of our schools, to conduct discovery walks, almost like learning walks. Using an instructional tool rubric to identify areas of strengths and also areas of improvement in terms of instruction on each campus. They went around 3 times a year to conduct this. Coaches help schools devise a targeted plan of action to address areas of strength and areas of improvement to ultimately improve instruction to meet the needs of our students. And you can see, I'm not going to go over, but that's a rubric that we have that we use, and it was also tailored. So all of our principals had an opportunity to say, hey, look, I really want to make sure that our teachers are doing this specific strategy. Or, hey, we really want to focus on this year. Can you give me a pulse to try to find out, hey, are we doing well or not? And then you can see the results of that discovery walk as well. I'm not going to go over that. That's for your pleasure. You can read those results. And you could see from discovery walk 1 to discovery walk 3, you could see where most of our schools improve. You could see a lot of improvement throughout the district, from the very first walk to the last walk. Another vendor we use is ANET, Achievement Network. ANET worked with 3 of our UIR schools, so we wanted to tailor a lot of work, very specific support to our UIR schools, our urgent intervention schools. Belrose Primary, Belrose Middle School, and Labadeville Middle. ANET provided 3 ELA MAT interim assessments aligned to the rigor of the Louisiana state standards and compared our system results to other schools within their network to determine growth. ANET coaches provided support to leaders and teachers by prioritizing instructional goals and areas of focus. They built the capacity of teachers to look at assessment before teaching their unit of instruction and after the assessment to analyze the results to make next instructional decisions. Leaders participated in frequent check-ins with ANET coaches to analyze and discuss priorities and make adjustments. And you can see the results of that. The first is the ELA results. You can see the data from interim 1, interim 2, interim 3, and you can see where the network average, and then you can see where the school average is at, what district average. The next page is a diagram of the math results. And you can see that we did better in ELA than math, but you can also see that we actually grew over the course of the year. The final vendor that we used was NIET. We use NIET support, and I'm not going to read this each word on this particular diagram here, but we really focused on building a capacity of our instructional leadership teams, working with our principals so we can have an academic focus. So a lot of our principals throughout the year went to various professional developments, had conversations, and Ms. Brittany led this charge. She did a phenomenal job. And also, we're very proud of our principals because from the very first beginning of this process to the end, we've seen tremendous growth. Our support person from NIET, her name is Ms. Amy Gale. They, as well as Ms. Brittany Allen, supported our leaders at their school sites around instructional leadership teams and strengthening feedback to teachers through the post-conference process. There was over 29 scheduled days of support that were provided by NIET. In addition to that, Ms. Amy and Ms. Brittany also conducted walkthroughs and provided feedback to our leaders while visiting their campuses. And you can see the growth here. 100% of Assumption Parish instructional leadership teams improve at least in in at least one focus area measured by the NIET Instructional Leadership Team rubric. 75% of post-conference plans, which is teacher feedback, were scored proficient and measured as measured by the NIET post-conference plan rubric. So we saw tremendous growth as well. And again, I have to commend our instructional leaders because this is their work. This is the things that they did, they took on in their campuses, and they actually grew. And then you had district level support as well, curriculum and instructional support for 2021, 2022. And I'm not going to read this word for word, but in August 2021, we started working on school improvement plans, leadership team protocols, formal observation protocols. In September, we started to look at long-range plans, NIET professional development as well. October, we focused on goal setting. November, we really looked at campus documentation and reflection. So how are we evaluating our teachers? What feedback are we providing? Is it authentic? Is it useful? December, leadership team meetings. We did really a rubric dig per se, where we went in, we really broke the rubric down and identified, hey, what is the rubric asking us to do? How can we better serve our faculty? January, formal observation. So we did something they call an inter-rater reliability, where we wanted to make sure when our evaluators go in, our principals, assistant principal and principals, when we go into a classroom, we see positive instruction as positive instruction together. We did not want one leader going in and say, you know what, that classroom is great, they're doing some good work there, and then another leader going in and say, oh, that was terrible, I didn't see that. So it's inter-rater reliability. We want to make sure that what we see in the classroom, we all judge the same, or very, very similar. And that was some work, and some of our principal leaders are here. That was some work, but I'm really proud of the inter-rater reliability results. In February, we did post-conference plans. We also looked at a post-conference rubric. In March, we did some feedback as far as the rubric was concerned and implementation of it. April, we did post-conference implementation. We looked at a strong model. And then in May, we did reflection. We did start to add some data, and that's going to be what we're going to be focusing on this year more so. Student work, looking at doing more data digs, doing those checkpoints throughout the year. So we're going to add the data piece this school year. And at this time, I'm going to bring up Ms. Rachel. And I'll say this, tell Ms. Rachel come up. Last year in our strategic plan, we focused on K2 lesson plan internalization. So what we did, we worked with our K2 teachers, ELA teachers. We focused on unit unpacking. So we looked at the unit and said, okay, what is the most important thing that students need to know? And we focused on that, and then we started to design lesson plans like a backwards design. So once we knew exactly what our students needed to know, then we devised our lesson plans and our units as a result of that. So that was some great work that our K2 teachers did, our K2 ELA teachers did. And now we're extending that a bit to now 3 to 10. So now what we did last year with our K2 teachers, we're going to do with our 3 through 10 teachers. We're not doing anything new. We're just going to expand the work that we've already done. Ms. Rachel? Oh, Ms. Margaret's up. I'm sorry. Ms. Margaret, special education.
Rachel was done there.
Sorry, Ms. Rachel. Yeah, because we switched the slides around a little bit. The slides look the same.
There you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. So good to see you, Ms. Hood. Hope you're feeling better. So I'm just going to share with you a little snapshot of the work we've done with the special ed department this year. I'm not sure if I'm in the paperwork. I kind of got mine in at the last minute, but it's up here. When we first came in, we streamlined the staff schedules to make sure that we maximize the time of our PAC and itinerant people in the schools. Instead of them being at one school, we made sure that they had days that they were at every school. We created procedures and processes for our special ed departments for our administrators and our teachers by creating data binders, making sure that they had the information to be able to run their SBLCs, to make sure that they were able to know the rules and regs with discipline, FBAs, which are functional behavioral assessments, having the forms that they need in the processes, and also some IEP guidance. We did special ed new teacher trainings right in the beginning before school started. And we also had a discipline matrix that was aligned to the code of conduct so that they would be able to understand what consequences go along with what actions. We did school visits that was ongoing all year long. We started off in the beginning with some informal observations, using that data to be able to plan the professional developments that we gave to teachers in the afternoons. And also on those half PD days, we brought those special ed teachers in and also had professional development based off of things that we saw in the classrooms where the need was. We aligned with curriculum and instruction with Ms. Brittany and Ms. Rachel for our principal and our assistant principals meeting when there were data or things that we needed to discuss to make sure that we aligned our processes of our observations and going into classrooms. We did a curriculum data dive, and we realized that we really needed a tier 3 curriculum to be able to meet the needs of our students, because the state passed down something that's called Accelerate. I'm sure you've heard of it. So we have an Accelerate time every day, but we really needed something to meet the needs of our students as well so that we could build them up to Accelerate. So we had one of our schools do a pilot for us using different tier 3 materials so that we could have that information and that data going into this year to be able to purchase something universal to use across the parish. We met with our special ed lead teachers and our 504 coordinators so that we would all be on the same page as to what qualifies a student for 504, and also so that they can be up to date with the processes and we don't go out of timeline with things such as our IEPs. Again, we talked about, I spoke earlier about having those after-school special ed trainings. Everybody was invited to it, regular ed and special ed. We had our formal compliance walkthroughs in the spring, where we actually went in like the state would go in and look at our IEPs, and look at our evals and our re-evals to make sure that we would be in compliance if we were audited by the state. We actually used that data to come back with the rest of the trainings for the remaining of the year to be able to teach our teachers how to write the IEPs properly. There was also areas of the IEP that we weren't addressing for whatever reason. So we were able to give them that insight as to new guidance that came in from the state, and also to be able to make sure that we were reaching our kids. We actually purchased a program called Sign Now. With COVID and everything, there was a lot of parents that were still a little afraid to come in for meetings, so we held virtual meetings, but with Sign Now, they were able to sign digitally by us sending them those documents, and they were able to sign, and it was emailed back to us. We also partnered with a company called Ascent. Ascent is a company that has wraparound services. So if we referred a family to Ascent, they were able to receive social emotional services. If they needed a doctor's visit, that one company could coordinate anything that that family needed. We also had, through LaSard, we had some of our special ed teachers that had one-to-one coaching for pedagogy and classroom management. We had special ed half-day PD days through, we talked about Go Book, behavior strategies, intervention, remediation, IEP writing, data from our compliance walkthroughs. And when I first was hired and I came before you with that special ed binder, I told you that our goal was to have 2 SPED family nights, and we actually were successful with that. So going forward, I'll share with you what our goal is for next year. So we received our Leap Connect data back already. We're still waiting on other data, but I was very, very happy with our Leap Connect scores. This is the old La 1, but it's now called Leap Connect. We actually have 39 students that qualify for Leap Connect in our district from grades 3 to 12. And as you can see up here, the blue is ELA, the orange is math, and the gray is science. The very first group is those students who scored above the goal. The second one, those are the students that was at the goal. We actually had one student that was right at the goal, so they were scored near the goal. And then the very last column, which is the lowest column, which I'm very, very proud of, those were our students that were below goal. So based off of our calculations, we had actually 81% of our students that were at or above goal. So I think that was awesome. So kudos to our teachers and our administrators, because this really shows the work that's happening in those classrooms.
Can I stop you for a minute with Leap
Sure.
Connect?
Mhm.
It's not necessarily a watered down test, but less of the test.
Correct,
Okay,
on grade
Just
level.
wanted to make that clear that.
Yes, thank you
we
for
let
pointing
the
that out,
public
yes.
know that, it's not a watered down version, it's just less of the questions.
Not at all. You're exactly correct. So that's why I'm really, really proud, and I'm kind of going fast, so thank you for pointing that out. So this next slide are the things that we are going to do going forward, and we've already started some of these things. We're going to be really, really data focused this year so that we can make sure that we are reporting out to our schools and our teachers where we need to improve and where we are doing great. It's good to stand before them and talk, and a lot of the things that we collected last year, I reminded them that we were just practicing, we're getting to know each other, we're putting some things in place that we haven't done in a while. This year, we're gonna actually start, when we go through the first walkthrough, we're gonna record that data with numbers. When we go to the second walkthrough, we're gonna record that data with numbers, so that by the end of the year, we can show progression. So everything here that's in the gray, we started this year, it will continue, and everything in the white, we are implementing and have already started, like I said. So we are fixing our schedules where we are aligning our itinerant personnel schedules to be able to go through and do the testing, do the child search, actually meet with kids and parents aligned with PAC, where in the past, they had to not see a kid on a certain day to be able to go to child search and then come back and catch that kid up. So this year, we really did a lot of work in coordinating the efforts with the itinerant schedules so that we can plan those weeks where we are doing child search, where we are testing kids, where we have those IEPs where they need to be there, those kind of things. We are having several new trainings this year, starting off with our paraeducators. SBLC, we are doing a formal training with that, RTI, and inclusion. Inclusion is not new, but it's definitely needed. The practice of inclusion is needed. We plan to have 3 special ed family nights this year. Last year we did 2, it was really, really fun. We just partnered with one of the schools that was having family nights, and it was really, really nice. So I'm looking forward to that. As I talked about earlier, we are looking to secure a universal Tier 3 curriculum for our students so that we can close some of the gaps, and eventually they will be able to perform successfully in the Accelerate program that we have from the state. We are also doing curriculum walkthroughs this year with feedback. We actually tiered our schools last year in the special ed department. We only went to Tier 3 schools frequently. We walked through other schools, but we looked for certain things in our Tier 3 schools. This year, we're adding those schools that we consider Tier 2 to that equation. to be able to give us more data. And we also did a Google kickoff training, and as you know, we're getting new teachers every day, so a lot of this training is going to be repeated. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty in-depth report. Thank you, Mr. B.
We got one more,
Ralph.
Mr. President.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, early childhood, Ms.
I
Rachel.
thought you was finished with her.
We done a lot of work this year, Mr. President. We got a lot of work done this year.
Okay, well,
When he
I'll hold my
called
comments
me,
then.
when he called me up, I thought he wanted me to speak about the upper grades, that's why I came. But then,
I got it. We good.
I just kept the early childhood short and sweet because I feel like I come and talk to you fairly regularly about a lot of things. And in just a month or so, you're gonna have your annual board training for Head Start, so we can go into a lot more detail then. But I captured 2 slides that I just think really summarizes everything about the importance of early childhood and why Assumption Parish needs to be so appreciative that we really promote the early childhood opportunity for all 4-year-olds. If you look at this first slide, this is from TS Goal, and it shows the children in the fall when they take all 38 objectives of what we test all of our Head Start and preschool children with and how they ranked. And you can see that there is a lot of blue, which means that they came to us below the expectations. So they weren't ready to receive they weren't able to do the work of what we were expecting of them. But then we taught them for a whole year, and we gave them lots of experiences, and we had wonderful teacher-child interactions and lots of language, and we helped the parents understand appropriate things to do at home by providing parent nights and Ready Rosie activities that we send on a phone, a little app that shows short little videos to them. And then after that great experience that they had in Head Start and Pre-K, look at the results. Next slide. Now look, very, very few are below expectations. The majority of them are meeting expectations, which is exactly where we would want them to be. And then some of them are even exceeding expectations, which means that they are beyond what we would expect of a 3-year-old or 4-year-old to be able to do. So this one slide shows you that we have them ready to enter kindergarten. Now, you may look at the numbers and say, wait, that doesn't add up right for the number of kids that we have in early childhood, and this is why. I wasn't aware that we were going to be doing this, and we've already prepared for next year by archiving the majority of the students going to kindergarten. So this slide doesn't actually capture all of the children from last year. However, 4-year-old teacher SLTs are based on TS Goal data, and I am very proud to say that every single preschool teacher had a meeting or exceeding evaluation on their SLTs, which means that 85% or more of their class was meeting or exceeding their goals in the classroom. So that proves that this snapshot of who's left in TS Goal is a good picture of how everyone did. And we do have 2 8G classrooms in the parish, one at Napoleonville Primary and one at Pierreport Primary, and both of those teachers in their classrooms met all of their goals. So we were able to prove 100% compliance with that grant also. Something to be very proud of. Our teachers work very hard in early childhood, and pictures like this really speak a lot because you can see the before and after.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. President and all of our parents, just want to let you know we will continue our support from the Curriculum and Instruction Department. This is year 2 of our strategic plan. So we're going to continue to provide the NIET support, school leadership support, ANET support. Also, we're going to continue to work with Attune. Our schools are continuing to receive support from our supervisors, observations, ILTs, etc., and also creative curriculum. And I will be remiss if I did not say it. I really thank and appreciate our curriculum team, Ms. Brittany, Ms. Rachel, Ms. Margaret, our master teachers at the district level as well. So just want to thank them for their hard work and dedication to Assumption Parish. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the report.
You're not planning on hiring a new curriculum specialist?
Not at this time. No, I've already met with my team, and Miss Rachel and Miss Margaret will take on some additional roles and responsibilities. But I also feel very confident when you look at the work that our principals did last year, we are far well more advanced than where we were last year at this time. Some of our principals already have their instructional leadership teams organized. They already have their plans ready to go, and they're working towards that. So we are light years ahead of where we were last year. So I'm very confident that we're going to continue this work. Even though Ms. Bridges is not with us, we still will continue the work that needs to be done.
Okay, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Next, receive child nutrition program reports for summer school / camp.
Good evening, everyone. I know last board meeting, Ms. Brittany came to y'all with the student side, so now I'm coming to y'all with the food service side. And I wanted to wait until we did our claim for reimbursement before putting out the numbers. I'm not sure, was this in y'all packet? Okay, I'm gonna kind of keep it kind of short and sweet. I know we've had a lot of presenting already. But overall, for summer, we fed a total, this is district-wide, 2,124 breakfasts and 3,579 lunches. Labor and food costs combined was about $24,000, and federal reimbursements is about almost $22,000. So on paper, it does look like we're going to take about a $2,000 loss. However, some of the food that was purchased for summer school and supplies that was purchased that was not used has been put in inventory to use for the upcoming school year. The only thing that concerned me, and it concerned me last year as well, is the participation that we have from the food service standpoint. If we're not feeding more than 100 kids at a particular site, from the food service standpoint, it's not financially feasible. So I'll give you an example. Our highest numbers were at Napoleonville Primary, which was our largest enrollment. We fed an average of only 39 breakfasts and 90 lunch. And our lowest was Napoleonville Middle School, that we served 9 breakfasts and only 21 lunches. We only had 40 kids at that site. So we were paying, employees to come work 5 hours, 1 employee at each site, and we're paying them more per hour, which, don't get me wrong, I agree, they need to be paid more per hour as an incentive to work summer school. But then when you add that higher food cost and all these things, it does come up as a little bit of a loss for us. So just a note, going forward, that if we do continue summer school and we don't have as many kids from a food service side, it's not feasible for us to do. But we're doing it, we don't make as much money as we should or could, I should say. So does anyone have any specific questions?
Can you satellite some of that food?
It's kind of difficult if you only have 1 person per site, because you still have to have 1 person at the point of service for USDA regulations to prove that it's basically a reimbursable meal is being served. So it's not impossible, but we not necessarily will have the manpower, because I don't know, I have a lot of trouble finding people to work summer school to begin with. So when we did it at Assumption High School that one year, I think it was 2015, and we had all students on campus.
Yeah.
We only had to employ like 3 people, and we served hundreds of kids, and it worked out fine. But I understand the need for having it all over the district, just, to get to those students in those different areas. So we'll work to see what we can do, but, we try as best as we can. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. Under policies and procedure, receive information on revision to policy GBA, contracts and compensation.
Good evening, everyone. Policy GBA has been kind of like something I've been holding in my inbox for a while. When we were doing some conversations with Hammonds and Seals going over policies, one of the recommendations was inside of policies not to have amounts or salaries amounts. So this year, and I've been waiting for the salary schedule to be readjusted, the information that actually is read as all has been blocked out has been moved into the salary schedule. So there's not 2 different locations about, hey, we paying here, and then all of a sudden, there's a way we paying the exact same amount on the salary schedule. Because annually, all y'all normally do is adjust the salary schedule, y'all don't revisit policy. So all we've done is taken out what's here, and whatever adjustments y'all have agreed upon has been moved into the salary schedule. This policy itself was back in 2016. So since of all the changes that came about with legislation that Anya explained in the last meetings, we just basically just Xing it out because you moved in one location. So any adjustments further that y'all will make according to what has been read out will only have to be changed in one place, and we don't have to visit it in two. So really, that's what the recommendation is. You have it, you just now have it in a different location, and it's being exported outside of the policy. Okay?
And just want to let the board know, that was a recommendation by legal, that we do not keep any like salary schedule documents or any type of pay in our policies.
Okay,
Because we don't revisit that every year, where you revisit the salary schedule every year.
okay, good.
Mr. Bing, could we possibly get an accurate comparison? Because most of this is about bus drivers. Can we get an accurate comparison as to what it cost us for contract drivers and what it cost us for parish drivers? We're constantly giving contract drivers cost, but we don't have anything to compare it to. And after looking, after our retreat, I think it's eye-opening.
Okay, no problem.
We need accurate numbers.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, receive information on 2022 through 2023 Student Code of Conduct. I have so we have a comment card here from Ms. Gregoire. We'll take her right now, Mr. Buggins, before you do your report. Ms. Gregoire, please come forward, please.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Angela Gregoire. I've been employed by the Assumption Parish School Board since 1995, and I'm currently the assistant principal at Laverdale Primary School. Tonight, I would like to address the jacket policy that's being presented to you on page 37 of the Student Code of Conduct. I went back into our archives online, and the earliest Code of Conduct book I can find is 2016-2017. At that time, the Student Code of Conduct concerning jackets stated, 1, jackets, sweaters, vests, sweatshirts must be worn on top of the uniform shirt with the collar visible. School approved means the principal has given approval, and no hood should be worn in any building. Tonight, you are going to receive information concerning jackets that states, jackets, sweaters, vests, sweatshirts must be worn on top of the uniform shirt with the collar visible, and no hoods allowed. Students will not be allowed to wear sweatshirts or jackets with hoods. I understand wearing sweatshirts or jackets with hoods could become a safety issue in the event there's a fight or an active shooter. However, I don't know when we changed the policy, but before there were no hoods or jackets, hoods on sweatshirts allowed. Jackets had to zip all the way down, sweatshirts had to zip all the way down. For some reason, it got changed. I don't remember the reason. I'm sorry, I'm getting old, and I can't remember. But at the same time, it was changed. Like I said, at some point it was changed. It's been stated that some students use their hoods to cover their AirPods because they're listening to their cell phone while the teacher's teaching. Also, it's being said by some people that students are hiding their vapes in their hoods. Why are we not addressing the policies that we have concerning cell phones? Because I always thought there were red zones. So the classroom would be a red zone unless the teacher is using it as an instructional device. Back in the day when I was in school, if you wanted to smoke cigarettes, you stuck your pack of cigarettes in your socks and you did what you needed to do. Those students wanting to not follow policy is going to find a way. And it is our job to address those situations accordingly to our Code of Conduct plan. So let's try to do that instead of punishing our students who wear their jackets and their hoodies properly. Because I'm gonna tell you, it was a 108-degree heat index for summer school, And I had kids getting off the school bus with their hoods on because it was cold in the bus. And I politely asked them, could you please remove your hood before you enter the building? Remember, it's a respect issue. They kept their hoods off. If I went in the classroom and they had their hood on because the teacher allowed it, the minute they saw me, the hoods came off. Also, if jackets cannot have hoods, our students will get wet when it's raining. They'll be cold when we have cold weather. I personally will be breaking the code of conduct because I will be standing outside my gate with my hooded rain jacket on and an umbrella over the bus driver's door so that students do not get wet. They also get wet even if we have overhangs because a lot of them drip when it's raining. So what I'm asking you to do is consider having administrators decide whether students can wear a sweatshirt with a hood for this school year only, since some schools are experiencing classroom disruptions while others are not, and have the new recommendation go into effect for all schools for the 2023-24 school year. Just a side note, some of you probably remember that when we changed from navy pants to khaki pants for our primary school students, those were phased in to allow our parents, who are a lot of them on a budget, be able to get what they needed as time comes. It was stated earlier that I can't believe some parents have sweatshirts already. Yes, they do, because they purchased them last year. They purchased them at orientation. Yes, they do. They are on a budget. They have to plan for that ahead of time. And like I said, they're going to wear their sweatshirts now because they are cold in the classrooms and cold on the buses. Not all of us keep our houses at 74 degrees. I also ask that you remove the word jacket so students can have a hooded jacket when it rains and when it's cold. Expectations in our policies can be implemented where jackets have to be removed and placed in school bags, or at the primary schools placed on their hook with their school bag once they enter the classroom or building. I also feel this is late notice for our stakeholders. You are receiving information on this tonight, and if you choose to vote on it tonight, it is 2 weeks before school starts. Yes, a Facebook post was posted by some schools, but it had not become policy yet. And if you wait until your next school board meeting, which is August 3rd, it will become policy 2 days before school starts. So again, I ask that you not make the hoodless sweatshirt policy go into effect until the 23-24 school year, and please allow hoods on jackets for when it's raining and cold. Thank you for your time and consideration in addressing this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Angela.
Thank you, Ms. Gregoire. Mr. Burgess, please.
Good evening. So, again, our discipline committee did meet, and we made some recommended changes to the code of conduct. I will say that I don't consider it extensive changes, and we'll see. I did create a cheat sheet for you, so as you review, it'll give you a page number so you can go directly to that particular change. One of the things we propose, and I'll go quickly, is to, I guess, put a clause in our ed custody so that we will consider, I guess, discipline. If a child is under, I guess, the umbrella of ed custody, if it imposes a discipline issue or discipline concerns, that it may be revoked. We also updated attendance requirements K to 8 and also 9 to 12 to make sure we had, of course, compulsory attendance days correct, given the block at the high school as well. So we looked at that. Homebound instruction, we included Google Classroom as an option. You know, if some kids are approved homebound and they may have health issues, some may be healthy enough to you know, get on Google Classroom and complete assignments. Some may not. We would not take the teacher out of the equation as far as homebound instruction. The teacher would still would still work with the student and have those assigned hours during the week. We also looked at suspended or expelled students. In the past, it was always they could not participate in school functions, school activities. That stayed the same, but we wanted to make sure we addressed the issue of events outside of the school system. For example, if we have a track meet in Thibodeau and a student is suspended here in the district, you know, we feel that that child should not at that time be allowed to participate in that activity. You are still representing your school and the district. So we expanded that a little. We proposed that change as well. The biggest change, I guess.
Excuse me, so you saying that they can't participate, which I thought that would be, known anyway. But they not allowed to go to that school neither just as a student, as a, what I was saying?
Spectator.
Yeah,
Spectator.
yeah.
Well, we couldn't control that if that child was with the
Right.
parent and a spectator at that event. However, if they are on the particular team and they are suspended or expelled, then they would not be able to participate.
Okay, I thought that would be done without being said or stated. But evidently it's happened before?
Well, from my understanding is, if a student is expelled or suspended, they cannot attend any event
That's
on
what I
campus.
thought.
Right. We didn't have it in.
Yes.
Right, and we've
Yes.
been practicing that, but we didn't have it in as far as, we didn't have the outside activities written in.
I'm saying for, I thought it was, but I'm saying for other places. I know they can't, I thought they couldn't even participate at other schools if they were on a team.
They can't participate, but
Right.
they can attend.
Yes, but they can attend?
You can't stop them.
As far as, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as a spectator, you're not representing the school. If
Right.
I'm with mom or dad or
Right,
something,
yeah.
I can't necessarily control your attendance.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's what I'm
That's right.
But I'm just saying, I thought it didn't have to be stated that if they were on a team, how would they go to another school and participate
Well,
with the team? That has happened before?
We have had in the past, for example, a track meet where it was, our schools are allowed, especially at the middle school level, to have, to participate in, let's say, track meets away from school. Not necessarily our school sponsored track meets here, but let's say prior to our season beginning, they may have some track meets in Thibodeau, they may have some, a track meet in Ascension. So we just wanted to make sure that it would, you know, they should not participate in those events either, because you are representing Assumption
Assumption
Parish. That
Parish.
is an activity, not within the district, but
Okay,
you are still being, representing the parish.
okay.
The biggest change, I guess, in this, and I'm kind of skipping down to page 9, we, I guess, reorganized the code of conduct because there were some concerns that we had corrective strategies, which are, I guess, which are interventions, in the same section in the code of conduct as consequences. So for example, for fighting, you know, we had some inconsistencies, for example, where one child may have been suspended and at another school, the child may have gotten different consequences that may have been a little bit lesser. So we felt that it was confusing that we had all of this in one section, so we wanted to separate it. We didn't really pull anything out, but we put the corrective strategies, which we renamed restorative practices, in one section in the code, and the consequences in another. So there's no, I guess, it's not necessarily as vague as it was, because you can go directly to the corrective strategies or restorative practices and directly to the consequences. So we just wanted to make sure there was no confusion and hopefully more consistent, that it is more consistent when schools follow the plan and have to impose some consequences for whatever particular behavior is. So what we did was took I guess we reorganized the code into different categories. So now when I go, I will see, if it's approved, I will see drugs, I will see aggression, I will see fighting, classroom campus disruptions, harassment. So when a parent or when an administrator, when a teacher goes in, when I look under that particular section, I can see the level that it is occurring. I can see it, we listed the particular J-Campus code, so I know when I put that referral in, I'm using the correct code. Before, I think you may have seen aggression in several areas in the code. So if I went in, it wasn't really user-friendly. So now I can go in and see everything pretty much in one section. So, you know, I think it's much more user-friendly the way it's organized now. And I think that was the biggest change that we looked at. We made some minor changes with the glossary because it defines different behaviors, and we had to make some updates from the last legislative update on, for example, what is a short-term suspension, and you know, so it was a couple of definitions that changed based on the legislative updates. We made those. You'll also see in your printout, you will see the old code with the old charts and some red X's on it. So we listed that as something that was being removed, but it's not necessarily removed. It was just, I guess, a part of the reorganization. It's just in a different format now. So lastly, as Ms. Angela shared earlier, we did make a dress code change, a proposed dress code change with the jackets, with the hoodies. And again, safety was the major concern with that proposed change. So we did look at other districts to see what they were doing and how they were addressing it, and they kind of spread out a little as far as what they're doing. I can share that if you know, if you would like.
Who was on this committee? Who came up with the thing for the hoodies, and how many people were on the committee? Was it principals, teachers, parents?
Yes, it was principals. It was we had some assistant principals. We had some special education representation. We had so principals, APs, myself, and that's pretty much it.
I know when we used to do the uniform policies, we always had parents that sat in the committee. So I was just wondering if we had any parents that was on the committee that can take part in this to know what was going on, to see how they felt about it. Because I know the biggest problem right now that I'm hearing is that we sold the hoodies, and the parents bought them, and now they're told they cannot wear them. So the parents are kind of upset that they have spent this money.
No, I do understand.
And we're addressing it now, right before school starts. So I think that's where the problem lies. I think it's a good policy. I think, you know, we need to do whatever we can to make our schools safer.
Sure.
But I also we need to take into consideration what these parents have already put out.
Sure.
So, you know, that's one thing I'd like for us to maybe, I don't know if we have to adopt it tonight or what we have to do, if we have to look back at it, or wow, y'all, how do you feel about it, Superintendent?
I understand, Ms. Dugas, because I too went through a similar situation when I was a principal where I made a uniform change, and actually it was hoods because we were getting too many complaints from our teachers, as well as our kids were not being compliant. So for me, we do have to make sure that we look at it from a safety standpoint first, and make sure that we are trying to do our best where we have multiple layers of protection that we could possibly provide to our students, because we don't want any of our students on campus, if God forbid, if there's any intruder and someone's wearing a hood, and then we got 10 other students on campus with a hood on their head, how can the sheriff department, how can our support get there and actually diffuse the situation? So this is a policy that I agree with 100%, but I think we do need to look at possibly how it's being rolled out. I think our parents would appreciate, you know, if we do look at it and say, hey, you know, let's have a conversation about, you know, whether or not it's the right thing to do immediately, but at the same time, what are we putting first here? We need to definitely look at safety first and make sure that we make the decision based on that.
Is there any way they can wear the hoodie and tuck the hood in the hood itself and the shirt?
look at the policy a little bit better, where they can don't wear the hood when they get off, when they get to the campus, you know what I'm saying, or something like that.
Yeah, I could definitely,
I understand the safety part, but some of these parents that bought these hoods last year, and some of them, they can't afford to go and buy more. Some of them bought them at the end of the school year, because most people shop, winter for summer, summer for winter, you know what I'm saying? So they done already bought this stuff, and, maybe we should have talked about this
And
last year, to stop
Can I
it. Or like Ms. Gregoire said, maybe we need to talk about it and kind of tweak it and implement it probably for the next
school year.
Right, phase it in.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, Ms. Gregoire spoke, she's the principal of a primary school. I'm gonna speak from the assistant principal of a middle school. It's different at a middle school. They will not take the hoods off. You can have them tuck them in. They walk down the hall, they untuck them, they put them on their heads. Tell them put them in their lockers, they sneak to their lockers and they get them out. It's impossible to police. And like Mr. B said, it is a safety issue. When those kids have those hoods on, you don't know who's under it. It could be somebody that sneaks in from outside. You just don't know. Is there any way we could say, because I know those mamas don't want to send those babies to school in the cold weather without a hood, could we roll it out for middle school and high school and let the little ones still wear them? Would that be a possibility?
That makes sense.
What I see as a problem, like Ms. Gregoire said, they will respect her, but don't respect the teachers. That's what a problem is. The teachers, they got to enforce it too. Village, okay? Everybody got to stick together. To me, it's the principals getting the respect down the hall. Then when they get in those classrooms, the teachers allow them to put the hood on. So that's the problem. Teachers are, usually when I was teaching, you stand outside your doorway. So when they're in the hallway, you tell them to take the hood off. That's who police in the halls, the teachers. And that's who police in their classroom, the teachers. So you want to hold these kids accountable, the kids that's doing what they're supposed to do with their hoods and taking off. You use it as a problem because these problem kids who keep the hood on, but then the teachers should be held accountable. When you walk in a classroom and see the teacher letting the kids have the hoods on, punish the teacher, not the kid. Hold them responsible.
Well, we will be going through a whole new stream of things because when our kids get to school now, they're gonna be going through a metal detector. So, that's more time we're gonna be taking up, that the kids, that our teachers are gonna have extra time to put in. So I don't know where the answer is or how much time we gotta spend on worrying about hoods and stuff like that, but we need to see what we can do to help the parents out that has spent the money.
what I'll do is I will ask Mr. Buggage and his committee to meet again to bring us back a different recommendation. So hopefully we can at least combine both sides and maybe come up with a better solution.
That's good, because right now, just like Ms. Gregoire said, timing is an issue right now. We're gonna be opening schools on next meeting, August the 3rd, and open school on the 5th. Timing is an issue, and again, all these parents that done went out and bought hoodies, it would be callous on our part to tell them, look, we can't do this, and just like, Ms. Barra said, it's a problem, but I think it's something that our school officials have to work out internally. They could handle this internally, So again, timing, just like Ms. Dot said, that's the key issue right now. So let's possibly get on it as soon as we could, Mr. Beaton.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
What is the cell phone policy?
Most schools, and we have some administrators here can chime in, but they have red zone, green zones where there are certain times and locations where they are permitted. And of course, when they violate those spaces in those times, there are consequences in place.
As a parent that has a teenage child in high school, the cell phones are not monitored in those classrooms. They are not. I see it. I can text my child and he will text me 5 minutes back. You know, and I know they can't, they
Well-
cannot do everything, and look, I'm a younger generation. We didn't have cell phones.
Right.
That's taking away from these children actually learning because it's a device. I'm guilty of it myself, you know, a lot of times. But we need to implement that a lot better, and the problem is some of those teachers are on their phones
Well,
as well.
and I will agree that consistency, and we can go back to the discussion on the hoodies as well. And I can recall in my experience, we've had, on every campus, and every campus that I've been on as an administrator, we had one or two teachers that were the uniform police. And they would have a list by the end of the day, but they were consistent. You know, and they may, and I'm saying the uniform police, but on that same note, we would have some that would not notice those uniform violations, and it did create an issue. So whether it's hoodies or cell phones, we have to be consistent as schools, you know, as individuals.
Wasn't it stated that they could wear a hoodie, but they couldn't have them inside the building?
Yeah, that's,
So that sound like that
that's
was
internal, yeah, they can handle it internally, yeah.
Sound like a discipline problem or something, you know?
It's definitely.
Goes back to our teachers and our principals, and
Yeah.
I have the little ones in
we have
primary
to
school, and,
enforce it.
you know,
It's not a bad, you gotta enforce it. You can't say you can't wear hoodies in the building and then allow them to wear them in the building.
You know, you just gotta enforce it.
I just think you just gotta enforce it.
And I also want to commend our principals as well, because they really took their time and went through the policy. All the people everyone that was on the committee, because we're trying to raise the expectations. You know, it's the bottom line. The bottom line is we want to make sure that the expectations are raised, discipline-wise and on academic side as well. So I get it, and I fully support and understand exactly what every board member is saying, and also from our parents, what our parents are saying. But the bottom line is we want to raise expectations in our schools.
Of course.
Yep. So,
Of course.
I think that's the key, and I see what the superintendent is doing, and that's where we gotta go. Because with discipline, everything's gonna fall into place. If you just got anarchy, and I mean, I know all the policies are intended to be useful. And then maybe the hoodie thing is something we could look at as far as, but there's no reason for a child to be sitting in the classroom with a uniform. No. Zero. Can they wear a hat to class?
No.
Look, I'll be honest, we went to school together, it was hot in the classes, and even when it was cold, it was still hot. Right? That hoodie, that's just a reason. Sure.
Yeah.
But what I see is the right.
So,
All right.
we'll reconvene with I'm sorry, Mr.
I have
Jessup.
a question for you, sir. The harassment there, do you have anything for bullying in the middle school?
We do. If you recall last year, we went through and our bullying policy. We looked at the documents that the state asked us to use. We had all schools represented. So we made sure our bullying policy that is in place mirrored what the state was asking us to do. So the schools should be versed in how to handle a bullying, what is bullying, and how to handle it if it does occur.
Okay.
So definitely a big issue.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burgess.
Mr. Burgess.
Sure.
Pretty healthy discussion.
Yep, thank you.
Next, under policy procedure, paragraph C, authorize the superintendent to schedule a construction committee meeting on August the 3rd, 2022 at 5 p.m. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by, I think I heard Ms. Cooney first and then Ms. Byra. Questions or comments? So, Mr. B, can we get a little update as where we are as far as the locks in the buildings and stuff like that, building outside locks, inside locks at the classrooms?
Yes, sir. So our goal is to make sure that our teachers are able to lock their rooms from the inside.
Okay.
So right now, Mr. Dwayne is completing that process. Right now, we also, the next step is to work with the principals, because we need to make sure that we give our teachers keys to doors that they need to go in and out of. So right now, the locks are being fixed, but we also need to make sure that we give our teachers the proper keys to make sure that they're able to have access to the doors that we need them to have access to. Because in some campuses, obviously, you know, you don't want everyone with every key to have access to, to unlock every door. So we want to make sure we get the proper keys to our teachers and to our administrators. So that's where we are. The doors and the locks are pretty much complete. Now we're trying to figure out who need what keys.
Okay, all right.
And also, I just want to, because we have a lot of projects out the board, you know, we've done our part. We've approved these projects to go out. I would like to have our construction engineers here and architects to talk to the board about where they are with our projects, as well as our maintenance supervisor here to where are we with our projects internally. So
Cool.
that's why I'm asking for the construction committee meeting at the next board meeting.
Maybe he can, even the projects that we couldn't get on, but we did make some improvements to our schools now, like some of the bathrooms that was in real bad shape. I mean, our maintenance department should have did something to some of those bathrooms, I would think.
In some cases, but in some cases we need to get, you know, our architect, some of those projects are with our architects and our engineers, and they need to get the contractors in here to do the work. We did do some, but we still have more work out there that needs to be completed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck finding contractors. Good luck finding contractors. Yeah. All right, is any other questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, motion carried. Next, on the budget, approved memorandum of understanding and contract between Career Compass of Louisiana and Assumption Parish Schools. Need a motion? Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Ms. Hood. Questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Paragraph B, approved contract with Sunshine Bus Sales. Need a motion? Motion by Ms. Barra, second by Mr. Robinson. So we have a copy of that contract in our policy right here. So Dr. B, let me ask you something. Under bus sales. So we when we did approve this policy last year, I think, didn't we just put everything under, we was paying individually for some buses, and then we decided to put it under one contract? Was that a recommendation from, the policy committee, or?
Yes, sir. And also our auditors identified, because what was happening, we had contracts basically on each individual bus.
Right.
So we were never able to get out of the contract. So what we decided to do is say, look, we're going to get a contract on our entire fleet. So every year or every other year when we revisit the contract, it's not for individual buses, it's for the entire fleet. So that was a recommendation from the policy committee as well as our auditors.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
How many proposals from different companies did we get, or are we just handing it back to Sunshine?
Mr. Buggage went out. Mr. Buggage, you going to come on up? So Sunshine, we've been with Sunshine for quite some time, but I did ask Mr. Buggage to take a look and see what other companies like First Student, and I think there's a company out of Thibodeau that can possibly give us some data as relates to buses in the fleet, how much it would cost us, so we could do a comparison. Mr. Buggage?
Right, I did reach out to, I think it's Laidlaw Company, left several messages as far as what our request was. I did not get a return. They have a Lafourche office, they have a, I think maybe a Baton Rouge office. I didn't get a return. I even left my cell phone number. Nobody called me back. And First Student, they gave me information on drivers if we ever had to go that route. But as far as buses, they didn't send me anything, but they kind of explained that because we utilized drivers for summer remediation. We didn't have any, they utilized our buses, but they didn't send anything as far as what, as far as buses and, what's the word I'm looking for? But as far as leasing their buses. So
Okay.
that's all. So I did reach out to two, and that's the information
Okay,
that I
when did
received.
you reach out before? In the last few weeks, or have you reached out?
This has been in the last maybe 2 weeks.
Okay, so it really wasn't in a timely fashion. knowing that we had to renew this in August. That's kind of late. And it kind of appalls me that we don't have anybody from that company sitting in the audience to answer questions when we're approving their contract tonight. And I mean, we're not paying them $2,000. We're paying them a hefty sum. Why is the contract for 2 years instead of 1 year like it was last year?
Actually, this company, and Mr. Buggers could speak to it, but this company requested a 3-year because of the price of buses. So to save on increased fees, I'm requesting a 2-year contract versus a 1-year contract. But eventually, we were told that these fees will be going up. So I wanted to lock in at least the rate that we have for 2 years before we do a year-to-year and the rates go up. So Mr. Buggers, you want to speak to the communications on that?
Okay, if we're consolidating routes also, why are we renting more buses this year than we had last year?
Because we do have several contract drivers who will be using our bus. So now we have more buses in our fleet than previously because we do have some contractors that will be using our buses.
Right, and by law, and I'm sure you're all aware, at a certain age, at 25 years, when a bus reaches that age, we have to.
So we have some buses that were aged out. So some contract drivers elected not to purchase a new bus. They're just going to use our bus.
I'm gonna add to that, we change our policy on proposals. I feel like we're not reaching out to different people. I don't know how I wanna explain it, but I've ran into problems with proposals that nobody's being contacted but just certain people. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And I think we need to come up with a policy on proposals, and how are we gonna handle them, and how many people are we gonna reach out to give a proposal?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we doing it just for one person, or are we reaching out to other people? Because I find we do have a big problem with that right now.
Yeah, we need to spread the wealth.
Did we have any problems with Sunshine, Mr. Buggage? What problems did we have? Were we happy
The only
with Sunshine?
issue that we had is that at a certain point, and usually during the summers, some of the buses are swapped out for repairs and for updates and things like that. So we just wanted to make sure that, and I already had conversations to have have a discussion to, I guess, to agree on when those buses are going to be swapped out, to make sure that we don't have an issue with summer school or anything like that if needed. You know, there was no issue where we were short any buses at all, but just to be on the same accord as far as when that transfer takes place. Other than that, you know, buses are repaired when we need repairs and that sort of thing. So that's pretty much what.
I can tell you that those buses are not inspected. Contract buses are inspected twice a year. You can go now and they still have some with a 1 on it. That can't happen. Well, actually, since last summer, they didn't get a 1. If you notice, when you meet them on the road, it's not uncommon to see the crossing arm hanging. That's not fixed in a day. You can meet them 2 weeks and the cross arm is still there. Let a driver run over a kid with that cross arm hanging. I mean, things are not as rosy as they appear.
Do y'all ever get a survey with the bus drivers? Are they unhappy with the service?
I can definitely do a survey, but specifically, I don't, I have never, I can't think off the top of my head of a discussion where a driver's not happy, but I can definitely get a survey and see and share that with you.
I don't know what we have to do, but I could tell you in our area last year, parents never knew when their kids were gonna be picked up, if we had a bus available. It was horrible. We need to do something with transportation. That is one of our biggest problems that we have faced last school year, and I really think that, I'm hoping that this year we start off with a better year, because I think you know what I'm talking about. It's been
Well,
terrible.
if I can add, you know,
That's not Sunshine problem.
Yeah, it wasn't
That's our
an issue
employees'
with bus
problem.
availability, it was the drivers. That's what the issue was. I mean,
I didn't hear nothing about sunshine.
it was the drivers.
Yeah, and if I can add also, last year we were utilizing the new system, the Traversa system. It was brand new, so, and I'm not making excuses, not at all. We did have some kinks at the very beginning of the year. Beginning of the year was my first year, so I had a conversation with principals the other day, and I said, you know what, in reflecting on my year, it's a lot of areas that I dropped the ball as far as transportation, because that was brand new to me, and a part of what I do, and I think as, modeling for principals in the district as well, we have to look back and see how can I make things better. I can tell you that we've addressed routes earlier to tell you that we will not have glitches. I will not stand here and tell you that, but I can honestly say that it was due to the new system. We tried our best. When I saw the need as a director, I jumped in to the point where I was riding buses for like a month, getting up at 4 in the morning, and I'll do it again if I have to. So I don't want you to think that it was a matter of we, as a transportation department, not doing, but it was a lot new, a new system and a new position for me. So I'm learning as I go. And again, we
Mr.
get
Buck,
there.
I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody.
No, I'm not.
I'm just saying that we did have a.
We did, and that bothered me, and that's why I jumped on when I had to make things run as smooth as possible.
So, Mr. Buggage, we did do basically, I don't want to say a dry run, but our new practices, we started that with summer programming. So how did transportation go for summer programming?
We had some glitches at the very beginning, but after, I will say maybe after day 3, with parents were really cooperative in that some of those outlying areas, Johnny's not coming today, that saved us time, and they kept us posted as far as if kids were riding with friends and that sort of thing, if it was high school. But it really, really leveled off after, and I will say as early as day 3, it really went smoothly. And I'm like waiting for us to get some calls and all, and it really was a better situation. I will honestly say it was a much better situation.
And our goal is to have the same practice going into this school year that we had going into summer programming.
Yes, sir. So we have addressed routes a little bit earlier using the system again, which we are more versed on and more experienced with. So we anticipate, again, I will not stand here and tell you we won't have issues, because we will have some glitches, but I will ask for the board's patience. I will also ask for parents' patience. We are a phone call away, because the goal is to have things run as smoothly as possible in a timely manner. So we're working hard at that.
All right.
So
Thank you.
Have y'all had any kind of meeting with transportation, with the bus drivers, or?
That is upcoming. We want to call drivers as early as next week to have their routes in their hand prior to the year beginning. That didn't happen last year like that again because of the new system. So we want them, we will have them in earlier to get the routes prior to the year beginning. And we can answer some questions. We'll ask schools to help out as well, to help us to make sure those kids that appear on those routes are actually on the buses and that sort of thing, so we can streamline our routes in a timely manner as well.
And Mr. Jack, I also want to say that I contacted bus drivers personally. I made phone calls to drivers personally, and to hear their concerns, to make sure that we relay those concerns back to the department, and we work better as a system. So we did contact drivers, we heard their concerns, and we're going to make those adjustments. And also, Mr. Buggis, we will have a meeting with the bus drivers before the beginning of the school year starts.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So it was an interesting year, but we're looking forward to a better year this year. So I'm claiming it already.
It's an important part. I mean, that's the first one they see in the morning.
Exactly.
Yeah. After they meet their parents.
Definitely.
Are you planning to let the parents know what routes their children are going to be on?
Right. The routes that the drivers will receive, the schools will receive in advance as well, so we can post that so parents.
Okay.
And like I say, we will be available for any. It's going to take a few days to get things where we want it. So again, your patience is definitely needed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barger. Appreciate it,
Welcome,
man.
Mr.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Roll call, Melissa, please. Yes? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next, paragraph C, receive information on school leadership support contract.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just for an information item right now, but this is a contract. This is one of our vendors what we talked about earlier of supporting our schools. So this is just their contract. This contract will be paid 100% with our ESSER funds. It's already in our budget. It's just one additional support, and I will have two more. I have one from NIET and I have one from ANET. So we want to continue supporting our schools with the vendors that we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Nothing under facilities and grounds. So I have one announcement here. It comes from the St. Benedict, the Moore Church in the Burtonville area. They have what they call an interfaith prayer service. So they normally host this every year, but for the last 2 years, due to the surge in COVID throughout the district, the state, and everywhere, opted not to have it. So this year, they are doing it again, and what they do, they have ministers from all over the parish, all denominations, different churches, and they come in and they're gonna speak, have a meeting at the church. It's basically a prayer service, and they're gonna talk about everything. They're gonna have prayers for the schools, prayers for the children, for the district, for hurricane season, for everything. So they had asked that, and this lady that's in charge of Miss Chris Dennis, she's the chairperson, and she asked that if I could get Mr. B to do the closing remarks, and he kindly obliged, so he's gonna do it. So that's next Friday on the 29th at 6:00 p.m. at the St. Benedict Center in church in Burtonville. Yes, I'll hook up on that, no problem. Thank y'all. Any other questions, announcement, comments? If not, motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Washington, and second by Ms. Dodd. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Have a great